listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 6 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfínjú. Instagram. Àfínjú. Facebook. Àfínjú. Lórí X. Àfínjú. Lórí YouTube. Àfínjú. Lórí TikTok. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ 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 Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
First, to look at the highlights. Tinubu preaches hope at Easter as Christians observe Good Friday. Former Credit Suisse boss to run for Ivory Coast president. Marco Rubio says U.S. will move on from Ukraine peace talks if no progress soon. Good evening and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. Nigerian Christians join their counterparts around the world to celebrate Good Friday, which commemorates the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ, who was arrested on a Friday ages ago and then placed on a cross and left to die. On Good Friday, the Friday before Easter Day, Christians observe the remembrance of the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ as a day of sorrow, repentance, and fasting every year. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has asked Christians in the country to use the Holy Week and Easter to reflect on the enduring values of sacrifice, redemption, love, and hope. The president made the call in a message he signed on Good Friday, 2 days to the Easter celebrations. According to Tinubu, he was saddened by the recent insecurity in the country. He also directed security operatives to decisively end the insecurity without delay. The president also expressed gratitude to Nigerians for their patience and resilience as the economy begins to show encouraging signs of recovery. Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria has appealed for a presidential directive to security agencies to ensure effective security for pastoralist communities across the country. The National Secretary General of MACBAN, Bello Gotomo, made the appeal in a statement in Abuja. He also called on the federal government to end all forms of alleged discriminatory practices against pastoralists in the country. Gotomo emphasized the need for the Office of the National Security Advisor to the President to implement concrete measures to address the alleged ethnic profiling, stigmatization, and scapegoating of pastoralists. He decried the alleged unlawful arrest, inhuman treatment, and profiling of some pastoralists at Okpere Market in Kaba local government area of Kogi State. A Yoruba self-determination group, Yoruba One Voice, led by the Are Ona Kakanfo of Yoruba Land, Gani Adams, has kicked against the push to introduce Sharia law in parts of the southwest, warning that such a move could destabilize the region and threaten Nigerians' already fragile pluralism. This position was articulated in a communique issued at the end of YOV's International Virtual Conference with the theme Sharia Law in Yorubaland, Setting Things Straight Through Restructuring. Presided over by Adams, who is YOV convener, the conference brought together members of the YOV Global Coordinating Council, the General Assembly, critical stakeholders, and prominent Yoruba sons and daughters across the diaspora. Speaking at the event, Adams condemned efforts to implement Sharia law in Yoruba territory, describing them as a ploy to weaponize religion for political purposes. He warned that such moves could fuel unrest and embolden extremist tendencies in the region. The All Progressives Congress, APC, Uzowani local government area of Enugu State has announced the suspension of Senator Chuka Utazi for alleged anti-party activities. Utazi, a two-time senator from 2015 to 2023, who represented Enugu North Senatorial District under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, decamped from his party and joined APC in 2024. But in a letter of notification addressed to the state chairman of the APC, Ugochukwu Agbala, and signed by the chairman of APC Uzowani LGA, Chris Ajodo, among others, the party stated that Utazi's suspension was sequel to and consequent upon a complaint petition from the Senators Umpologu ward alleging anti-party activities. The ward accused Senator Utazi of having participated in the People's Democratic Party Enugu North Zonal chapter meetings and endorsement of the governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, for second term in the coming 2027 election. They also accused the senator of granting interviews and engaging in open blackmail and the marketing of APC Enugu State chapter in public, among other infractions. As Christians in Nigeria join others around the world to mark the 2025 Easter celebrations, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered tight security measures across the country to ensure a peaceful and hitch-free holiday. The first public relations officer, Olumuyiwa Dejobi, in a statement said the IGP extended warm Easter greetings to the Christian faithful, urging them to reflect on the values of hope, renewal, and sacrifice which the season represents. Egbetokun directed all commissioners of police and supervising assistant inspectors general of police to intensify visibility policing, intelligence gathering, and extended surveillance in their jurisdictions. He also directed the strategic deployment of personnel to churches, recreational centers, highways, and other public places to forestall any security breach during the festivities. Two victims of last Friday's attack on worshippers on the Akpamoba Igbola Prayer Mountain in the Agbaja area of Lokoja local government area of Kogi State have been rescued. The command spokesman, William Aya, who confirmed the rescue of the victims, identified them as Pastors Adura Kayode and Kingsley Ebong of the City of Grace Prophetic Liberation Church. The spokesman further explained that the rescued pastors had been reunited with their families, saying that security operatives are still combing the forest and the area to rescue more of the abducted worshippers. The chairman of Lokoja Local Government Council, Abdullahi Adamu, charged security operatives to sustain the search, rid the forest of all criminal elements, and restore sanity. In a statement by his special advisor, Yusuf Bala, the chairman called on residents of the area to remain calm as security personnel are on the trail of the criminals. Away from Nigeria, former Credit Suisse boss Tijane Thiam is to run for president in Ivory Coast's forthcoming election. Thiam, 62 years old, was the only candidate vying to represent the country's main opposition party, the PDCI. Sources said he has spent the last 2 decades living abroad and had to give up his French citizenship to be able to stand in the presidential election. The former minister has held directorship positions in leading international businesses like Aviva, Prudential and Credit Suisse, though he resigned from the latter following a spying scandal. In Asia, Myanmar's junta and a key opposition group have indicated they will extend a ceasefire to support more aid efforts after a devastating earthquake. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim stated this following rare high-level talks. Myanmar has been in the throes of an expanding conflict since its military ousted an elected government in 2021 and formed the State Administration Council to run the country. In late March, a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit the country, killing over 3,600 people and creating a humanitarian crisis. Anwar, who is also the chair of the ASEAN Regional Bloc, has held talks since Thursday with Myanmar's junta chief, Min Aung Hlaing, and with the shadow National Unity government that is battling the military, seeking to curb the ongoing conflicts to push aid into the country. After the March earthquake, Myanmar's junta announced a 20-day ceasefire on April 2nd, following a similar move by the NUG, with more than 3.5 million people already displaced by the civil war and an economy in tatters. Christian devotees from the Philippines were nailed to a cross in a reenactment of Jesus Christ's crucifixion in the predominantly Catholic nation. Hundreds of Filipinos and foreign tourists flocked to the northern village of San Pedro Cutud in Pampanga province to witness Ruben Enaje nailed to the cross and portray Christ for the 36th time in an annual devotional display. 2 other devotees joined him in reenacting the crucifixion. Around 80% of the Philippines' 110 million people identify as Roman Catholics. The rituals form part of Holy Week, which spans from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday and is one of the most sacred and solemn periods in the Philippines' religious calendar. During Holy Week, some devotees flog their backs repeatedly with bamboo whips in an act of self-flagellation to seek penance and atonement. The Catholic Church has discouraged the practice, saying prayers and sincere repentance are enough to commemorate Lent. In Europe, U.S. President Donald Trump will walk away from trying to broker a Russian-Ukraine peace deal within days unless there are clear signs that a deal can be done. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated this in Paris after meeting European and Ukrainian leaders.
I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine over the last 3 years. And we want it to end. But it's not our war. I want everyone to understand that. And the reason why I make that point is the president has spent 87 days at the highest level of his government repeatedly taking efforts to bring this war to an end. We are now reaching a point where we need to decide and determine whether this is even possible or not, which is why we're engaging both sides. As you know, Ambassador Witkoff has had not 1, not 2, but 3 meetings with Vladimir Putin to determine the Russian perspective on this and understand what it would take for them to end it. We, through General Kellogg, myself, and others, have had repeated engagements with the Ukrainians. So we came here to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is the war that can be ended. If it can, we're prepared to do whatever we can to facilitate that and make sure that it happens, that it ends in a durable and just way. If it's not possible, if we're so far apart that this is not going to happen, then I think the president's probably at a point where he's going to say, well, we're done.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said some progress on the peace settlement had already been made, but that contacts with Washington were difficult. He said Russia was striving to resolve the conflict while ensuring its own interests, adding that Moscow remained open to dialogue with the United States. The talks in Paris were the first substantive high-level and in-person talks on Trump's peace push that have included European powers. Four persons have died after a mountain cable car cabin plunged into the ground near Naples in southern Italy. Reports said that 2 Britons and 2 Israelis were killed, which has not been confirmed, while another person was extremely seriously injured in the crash at Monfalto and airlifted to the hospital. Local media outlets said that the cabin had been near the top of the mountain when one of the cables supporting it snapped. Prosecutors have launched an investigation as officials confirmed the victims were 3 passengers and the driver of the cable car. In the Americas, Democratic U.S. Senator Chris Hollen has met with Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported to El Salvador in a case that has pitted a defiant Trump administration against the courts and fanned the prospect of a constitutional conflict. The senator posted on X an image of himself in El Salvador with Abrego Garcia dressed in a collared shirt, jeans, and a baseball cap, a day after being denied access to the notorious prison for gang members where he has been held. The U.S. Supreme Court has directed the administration of President Donald Trump to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return after Washington acknowledged he was deported because of an administrative error. In a statement apart from the ruling, Liberal Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor said the government had cited no basis for what she called Abrego Garcia's warrantless arrest, nor for his deportation or imprisonment in El Salvador. Abrego Garcia's lawyers say he has never been charged with nor convicted of any crime and deny the Justice Department's accusations that he belongs to the criminal gang MS-13. In the Middle East, Pakistan has expelled over 80,000 Afghan nationals since the end of March as part of a repatriation drive ahead of the April 30th deadline. Afghan nationals who have no legal documents to stay or those holding Afghan citizen cards have been warned by Islamabad to return home or face deportation by March 31st, a deadline which was then extended to April 30th. An Interior Ministry advisor, Talal Chowdhury, told the press conference in Islamabad the April 30th deadline is final, underlining that only those Afghans who hold valid visas to be in Pakistan would be allowed to stay. The repatriation drive is part of a campaign called the Illegal Foreigners Repatriation Plan, launched in late 2023. Pakistan has in the past blamed militant attacks and crimes on Afghan citizens who form the largest militant group in the country. Afghanistan has rejected the accusations and has termed the repatriation as forced deportation. Now talking sports, and Slot believes keeping his Liverpool team together would mark a big summer for the club, as he insisted Trent Alexander-Arnold's future is still not done. The Reds have secured captain Virgil van Dijk and the leading scorer Mohamed Salah on new 2-year deals, but there is uncertainty around the future of right-back Alexander-Arnold because his contract expires in the summer. They look set to become champions in Slot's first season since he succeeded Jurgen Klopp, having only added forward Federico Chiesa to their ranks for the 2024-2025 campaign.
It is also in general good to have some new energy in and around the place with one or two new players. That I agree on. But it isn't really a necessity if you look at the quality we have and the quality of a season we've had. because again, we saw during the week how good of a team Newcastle is. So they're number 3 now. So that they played so well against us in the League Cup final isn't probably not a surprise anymore. And Paris Saint-Germain has been good, but Villa showed, the number 7 at the moment in England, that they can win from Paris Saint-Germain. What a league we are in.
Liverpool are 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League and would secure a 20th top-flight title if they beat Leicester and second-placed Arsenal lose to Ipswich earlier on Sunday. Before we go, here again are the highlights. President Bola Tinubu has asked Christians in the country to use the Holy Week and Easter to reflect on the enduring values of sacrifice, redemption, love, and hope. Elsewhere, former Credit Suisse boss Jane Thiam is to run for president in Ivory Coast's forthcoming election. And in the Americas, Democratic U.S. Senator Chris Holland has met with Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported to El Salvador in a case that has pitted a defiant Trump administration against the courts and fanned the prospect of a constitutional conflict. That was the world news on Radio Afinjo. To view our channel, please follow Radio Afinjo on Facebook, X, and YouTube. The news was edited by Stella Durotoye. My name is Pearl Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good evening.